This is Conversations on Careers and Professional Life, a podcast from the Foster School of Business, MBA Career Management Office. I'm your host, Gregory Heller. On each episode, I talk with guests from faculty and staff to students, alumni, and business leaders about the skills and strategies that can help you design a professional career that you're happy with. On this episode, I speak with Foster Class of 2024 MBA Priyanka Natrajan about how she used Yoodli.ai to help prepare for her Amazon internship interviews during the fall of 2022. We recorded this conversation during the summer of 2023, just as Priyanka was getting started with her internship. I recently spoke to the co-founder of Yoodli, Varun Puri, and you can find that episode at conversationsoncareers.com or one or two episodes back in your podcast feed. I hope you enjoy this conversation on careers and professional life with Priyanka Natrajan. My guest today is Priyanka Natrajan. Priyanka is a member of the Foster MBA class of 2024. And I wanted to have her on the show to talk about her internship search and how she used a tool called Yoodli to help prepare for her interviews. Priyanka, welcome to Conversations on Careers and Professional Life.
Hi, Gregory. Thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to speaking with you today.
So before we get into your internship preparation, can you tell me a little bit about what you were doing before you came to Foster for your MBA?
Sure. Before I joined Foster for my MBA, I was working in Bangalore, specifically working at Cisco as a software engineer for 3 years, and then worked as a project manager for a year before moving to Seattle for my MBA.
And when you got here in the fall of 2022, a lot of internship recruiting timelines had moved up. We started to see those postings dropping early. How did you go about thinking about your target list of companies and beginning your preparation for those applications?
Yeah, before I joined, I started out by thinking about the industry and the role that I wanted to focus on, and knew that I wanted to stay in the tech field but move into the space of product management. So that's where I started interacting with the career coaches at Foster to narrow down on my list of target companies.
So what are some of those companies that were on your list to begin with?
Oh, yeah. So, being an international, there was definitely, I knew I had a smaller pool of companies to focus on, but nevertheless, still a good target. So, my main ones were Amazon, Microsoft, and I also wanted to try if I can interview at Google as well.
Okay. So the big reveal, where will you be interning in the summer of 2023?
Yeah, I'm privileged and lucky to get placed at Amazon. So, I will be doing my summer internship as a technical product manager at Amazon.
That's great. So Amazon has a pretty rigorous interview process. Can you talk
Yes.
about how you prepared for those interviews?
So once you get through the initial online assessment, they have a large focus on their behavioral portion of interviews, specifically for product management. They also have product casing. So I kind of had to prepare for both aspects of the interview.
So what are some of the activities or resources, either through the career management office or through the clubs, that you really leveraged in your interview prep?
For behavioral interviews, this is common knowledge, but Amazon has their 16 core leadership principles that they interview you around. So it's very important to really understand what are those leadership principles, what are the nuances of them, how they integrate with the culture and the work that is done in the company. So I first started out by doing some mock interviews with tech club seniors and also the career management. And through you, Gregory, I found out about Yoodli. For my own personal prep, I used a lot of Yoodli for my behavioral prep to improve my diction and my speed and clarity.
Okay, so that's Yoodli, YOODLI.ai. It's a startup out of the AI2 incubator. And tell us a little bit about your experience with it. Like, what does it do? Obviously, I know what it does, but for our
Yeah.
listeners, why don't you describe it from the perspective of a user? How did you use it? What were the features and benefits that you found really useful?
Yeah, from my perspective, it is a tool that just records whatever that you have spoken, say in an interview or a presentation. It is a way by which you can continue to monitor your progress in terms of speaking skills. It monitors your speed, like words per minute, and your clarity, and if you have filler words, and sort of gives you an analysis in the end of, say, like a 2 minute interview answer. I think you used to send me the Yoodli link, which would give me all the details of the analysis. And for me, this was so helpful because I got a visual view into where I was making errors or what are my rooms of improvement.
Right. So we would bring that into our Zoom meetings as we were
Yeah.
practicing mock interviews. It would record the two of us, and you'd be able to see your speaking pace, use of
Yes.
filler words, repeated phrases, and then some other metrics like are you centered on the screen and did you smile and that kind of stuff. And it transcribes everything.
Yeah.
So you can see there's what you think you wanted to say, and then there's actually the recording of what you actually saw. And a lot of people don't like watching a video of themselves. Did you watch the videos back, or did you just read through the transcripts?
Oh, I just read through the transcript. I'm not a big fan of watching a video of myself. And it's lower stakes, right? You just got to hear yourself.
Right. I know. I think that's one of the real benefits for people who are averse to the idea of recording themselves, because that's the way we used
Yes.
to do it in the old times. We would say, get a camera out or get your phone out and record yourself. And then you got to listen back to it. And, as a podcaster, I hear my voice all the time, so I'm used to it. But a lot of people don't like to listen to their own voice, right? So this is a
Yeah.
way to see what you said. And I wonder, as an international student, as someone who does speak with an accent, did you notice that the transcription was accurate, or were there places in which it wasn't accurate? And did that help you figure out, like, oh, I've got to work on my pronunciation or enunciation of that?
I was pleasantly surprised by the quality of the tool, to be honest. So I did not notice any errors in the pronunciations of words where it might have missed out on. As internationals or as Indians, we talk a little faster. So, words used to get missed out when I talk faster. But I took that as, hey, this is a place where you can improve. So I found it to recognize my word quite well.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that the speed is something that, as a New Yorker, I talk pretty fast too, naturally,
Yeah.
especially if I've had a little coffee. Uh,
Yeah.
but it shows you in a band, like, here's your suggested conversational speaking pace. And you can see,
Yes.
like, am I at the top of that? Am I speaking really fast for a really long period of time? There's some new features that Yoodli has introduced probably since you were using it regularly in the fall. The private Yoodli feature, which allows you to record only yourself and the other person to not know that you're recording
Yeah.
yourself, as well as now they've rolled out some GPT powered rephrasing of your answers, which is really cool, as well as follow up questions based upon the answer you gave. So the tool continues to evolve, and I think it's become even more useful. So we would meet, we would record the sessions, you would then review that to figure out improvement. Then did you use it on your own in between mock interviews that you were doing with other people, whether it was career management or classmates?
Oh, yes. So during my 2 week marathon prep for Amazon, I exclusively used Yoodli for my personal prep. Like I mentioned, behavioral interviews were such a large aspect of the prep for Amazon. There were these set of questions that I knew were asked in the past. So I basically used to feed these questions to the tool, probably 5 at a time. And it used to just pop them out one at a time. And I used to, record my answers just so I can kind of do it in a real interview style where I'm actually answering 5 questions at once and then evaluating the results of it later.
That's great. And that's the interview practice feature within Udly. There's also speech practice. And then they've got some fun games that can help you
Yeah.
think on your feet a little bit. Did you ever play around with any of those games, like the spin a yarn or metaphor?
I probably did not have the
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
to play games during
Yeah.
recruitment prep, but I'd love
But
to
they're
test
they're
out the new
games with the
features though.
purpose, games with the
Okay.
purpose to help you with your communication. But it's great to
Okay, that's
hear that you
interesting.
loaded in the questions that you expected to get, and
Yes.
then you answered those questions one after another so that you got that feeling of actually being in an interview. Did you share your videos with anyone else for feedback?
I did not share my videos with anyone else. No.
Because that is another feature that's really great within Udly is that you can get that time-stamped feedback. And sometimes as I'm using it in a Zoom meeting with students, I'll put that feedback in there at a specific point, slow down, this is too many
Okay.
details, and it's time-stamped right there alongside the transcript. You can see those notes. So it's a powerful, powerful feature of Udly. As we wrap up here, I'd love to know if there are other resources that you found really helpful during your recruiting cycle for your internship, whether those are websites, books, podcasts, or other activities at the university, at the Foster School that were really helpful to prepare.
Specifically for product management prep, I used exponent videos. These are also on YouTube where you have a bunch of free videos where people are doing mock product cases. So these are a great way to just get started with this prep and see how professional product managers answer and tackle these questions. And then you can also use these to sort of practice by yourself. So exponent was a really tool that I used.
Okay. I'll put
Yeah.
links to that in the show notes.
I just wanted to call out one really good feature of Yoodli. This was when I initially started, my individual prep. And what I noticed is that they also used to make my answers a little more concise, word them in a better manner. So I sometimes use those answers in my stories as well. So that was helpful for me.
That's great. And that feature has gotten just more powerful as the GPT
Oh,
tools have gotten
absolutely.
more powerful. So you can even, apparently, if you want, you can even rephrase your answer as a limerick now.
Oh,
I
wow,
don't
that's
think that'll go over
interesting.
too well, but you can rephrase your answer to be simpler, so to take out some of the complexity or to make it more concise. And I think those are great ways to help students or to any job seeker think about other ways to articulate the same thing. And that can let you also be more spontaneous because you've heard different ways to do it and you're not stuck to like one script
Oh,
in your
that's
head
interesting.
for a story. So you can be a bit more nimble.
Sounds like there are a lot more, many features just in the past few months because I obviously haven't used Udemy in the past 2, 3 months. So I probably need to get back to it or maybe add it to some Zoom calls or
Maybe as you're
yeah.
preparing for presentations during your
Yes.
internship. I mean, I know that at Amazon, that's not like a PowerPoint presentation, but if you're preparing to talk through your 6-pager at the end of your internship, it could be a helpful way
Definitely.
to practice fielding questions and discussing the key points of your project. Well,
Absolutely.
Priyanka,
Definitely be using it.
I really want to thank you for taking the time this morning to talk with me and have this conversation on careers and professional life.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Gregory, for having me on.
So, as you heard, Priyanka used Yoodli to practice her answers to interview questions she expected to get during her Amazon interviews. I always say to my students that mock interviews with a coach or even a classmate are more like a music or sports lesson with a teacher or pro, or even a session with a personal trainer. You can get feedback and guidance on improving your form, but you have to do the practice in between those sessions. Yoodli can help anyone make the most of that practice by ensuring that you're hitting your intended points, speaking clearly, and at the right pace, and even help you rephrase your answers using AI. As we alluded to in the conversation, Yoodli has introduced new features, including the desktop version, which can act as your co-pilot, providing you with real-time tips during online meetings or presentations or interviews. Since we recorded our conversation, Yoodli has introduced pricing. After 10 free recordings, you will be prompted to subscribe, and if you reach out to me by email at gheller@uw.edu or on LinkedIn, I'll provide you with a 20% off discount code. Remember, be sure to check out my conversation with Yoodli's co-founder, Varun Puri, in the podcast feed or at conversationsoncareers.com. Thank you for listening to Conversations on Careers and Professional Life. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with a friend or classmate. Help others find the show by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. Conversations on Careers and Professional Life is produced by me, Gregory Heller, with support from the Foster School of Business, Office of MBA Career Management. Learn more about the show, find show notes and past episodes, and get in touch with me at conversationsoncareers.com.